Good morning. I have no idea if this is actually live streaming right now, but I'm going to say hello anyway. It is currently 9:57 a.m. in Bristol, and I've got a little camera in the back garden. I'm just going to check this on my mobile, by the way, to see if this is actually streaming. I've got a nice little camera in my back garden called a C-Star S50, and the C-Star S50 is a very inexpensive camera, half the price of an iPhone or even less, or any flagship iPhone or Samsung camera you can get nowadays. This is around half of that cost, and what it does is it takes pictures of the night sky and tracks the sky, but it also takes pictures of things like the sun. And right now the partial solar eclipse in Bristol is literally about to happen. And I've set this all up very much as a spontaneous thing. I wasn't going to do this originally because I thought it'd be really hard, but it's actually turned out to be really easy, which is a nice change. It makes a very, very nice change, doesn't it, when things aren't difficult? And so what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd just have a play and see if I can actually get this to work. And it looks like it is working. So I've got a live chat going on. So if you want to say hello, you can say hello here. And I'm going to try and put this on various locations. So if I've got my head down whilst this is live streaming, then that's just because I'm just want to make sure this is working and that people can access it. So just I'm going to go off camera for a second, but I will carry on live streaming whilst I'm doing that. Good morning if you're just joining me or you're watching this on the replay. This is actually a live view from the C-Star S50 camera, which is a small kind of cornflakes packet sized box that is currently in my back garden in Bristol. And what you can see right now, the reason why it's wobbling is because the camera is actually just trying to keep the view of the sun front and center. So it is currently 10:03 a.m. on the 29th of March. I had to look at the date there, of 2025, and this is a partial solar eclipse. I think about 25% or so of the sun will be blocked by the moon, and it should just start appearing on the top right hand corner as you see it on this image, as the moon kind of passes over the top section of the sun and then eats a bit out of it, metaphorically, and then passes out by midday. So maximum totality is going to be around 11 a.m. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably pop on and off camera occasionally, so you can see there is actually some real stuff going on here, and there is a real live human being involved in this. So the reason why the view just shifted there slightly is because the camera is automatically recentering the view every so often if it does drift at all. So the C-Star S50 is produced by ZWO, and it's a really affordable astronomy camera. I wouldn't call it a telescope simply because it's more designed for doing this kind of thing. And here we are, you can just see in the right hand corner, as I see it, the moon's just beginning to eat into the sun there. It is now 10:04 and about 15 seconds when that happened. And here we are. So this is the beginning of the solar eclipse 2025. So enjoy, pop in occasionally. It's a very slow moving thing. On the left hand side, towards the middle of the sun there, you can see a black sort of patch. That's actually not something on the camera lens. That is a real sunspot. And that sunspot is probably about 5 or 6 times bigger than the Earth. It's not a very big one. And here we can see the moon gradually passing across in front of the sun. Now, interestingly, in 2026, in August of 2026, there will be a very near total solar eclipse in Bristol. I think about 96% of the sun will be occluded. And the last time that happened, interestingly, was in 1996. And I was here in Bristol to witness that event. I think then it was a 98% partial solar eclipse. So this one is... I wouldn't call any eclipse a tame event because it is quite spectacular watching the sun gradually darken. But this one is the first one I've ever live streamed on the internet, and hopefully won't be the last. So do sit back and enjoy. I will mute my camera and switch off my camera for now, and I will pop back occasionally. So here we are. We're just starting the early stages of the solar eclipse 2025. Good morning if you're just tuning in. Today is the 29th of March 2025, and you can see here the partial solar eclipse from Bristol, actually live right now in progress. It is currently 10:09 a.m. as I'm live streaming this video. There will be about a 30-second delay between the actual live events and when this goes out on YouTube, which is totally fine. This is a slow moving event in the sense that it doesn't swallow up the sun that quickly, and by swallow up the sun I mean the moon goes in front of the sun and partly occludes it in a partial solar eclipse. Now, the last time anything like this happened in Bristol would have been August 1998. I previously said 1996, my mistake. So back in 1998, which is quite a long time ago now, getting on for 30 years or 27 years ago, Bristol nearly had a total solar eclipse. I believe it was around 98%. So most of the sun was occluded and only a tiny bit actually was left, and you could see it with wearing proper solar glasses. Now in 2026 in August, funnily enough, there will be another nearly total eclipse of the sun, and that will be 96%. So again, a very spectacular thing to have a look at with proper solar filter glasses. Now, you can get these in all sorts of places. If you haven't got any, then just carry on watching this live stream. So this is the first time I've live streamed anything astronomical, and it's quite a nice event to actually do, because it's not often this sort of thing happens. The sun is actually we're in the plane of the sun. If you imagine this line here being a line where most of the planets go around, there is a slight degree of variation in that, but for the most part all the planets are in the plane of what's called the ecliptic. But interestingly, the moon is knocked off by about 11 degrees, and that means there are only certain times of the year when the moon, the sun and the earth are all lined up. And what's really fascinating is that a lunar eclipse often precedes a solar eclipse, and we had a lunar eclipse quite recently. I'm pretty sure the weather wasn't that great in the UK, which is very normal for anything astronomical. So it actually surprises me. We've got relatively good skies here in Bristol today to be able to watch this. So you can see here the moon is gradually blocking out some of the sunlight, and as time progresses, the moon will pass more and more in front of the sun. And what I might do in live chat is, if I can find it, is I might post a link to, I think there's a website called timeanddate.com, which actually shows you an animation of what's going on. But right now you're watching this actually live on Tinternet. So here we are on the 29th of March, Saturday 29th of March. It is now 11 minutes past 10 in the morning, and the moon is gradually passing in front of the sun. And as I said previously, if you've already tuned in or you're watching this on the replay, I will occasionally pop up with my webcam and audio, just so you can see what's going on. But otherwise, sit back and enjoy this as you're eating your breakfast or drinking your coffee, whatever it is you're doing this time of day, and witness this very rare event, and even more rare because of the fact that it's sunny in Bristol. Okay, I'll speak to you shortly. David, thank you for pointing that out. I had my camera, my audio muted. So anyway, we're back now. So what I was just saying a few minutes ago is that these solar eclipses happen every so often, not that often. And the reason why they don't happen very frequently is just because of the fact that the moon isn't quite lined up with the Earth and the Sun. So most of the time the moon is around 11 degrees at a slight angle to the ecliptic line, which is the line between the Earth, Sun and the moon. And so because of the fact that the moon goes above and below that line, most of the time we don't actually see a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. David and Weather, you should get the audio back shortly. I've unmuted myself. I've done a classic thing of talking being muted for the last 3 minutes. So what I was saying was the fact is that the moon and the sun are the Earth and the Sun are actually on a kind of a plane called the ecliptic. But interestingly, the moon is at a slight angle. It's about 11 degrees. Now, some astronomers believe that, interestingly, there was maybe a Mars-sized object that collided with the Earth a few billion years ago. And as a result, the Earth has its current size, which is smaller than it was. And a good chunk of that ended up being the moon, because the moon is an unusually large satellite for a planet of our size. Most planetary systems, most solar systems that have planets going around them, most of the moons are a lot smaller than the actual planet that they're going around. So if you think about the Galilean moons that Galileo discovered in the 1600s or late 1500s, they are tiny little dots compared to the size of Jupiter. But the moon, interestingly, and I call this an amazing coincidence, maybe some people, and I am one of those people who say that a coincidence is just when God does a miracle and decides to remain anonymous. And one of the many thousands of these coincidences that I see as the hallmarks of his fingerprints are, one of them is the fact that the sun and the moon appear exactly the same size, even though the moon is, it's like 400 times closer to us compared to the sun. Actually, it's by a lot. It's around, I think, 91.5 million miles on average, the Earth-Sun distance, and around, I think, 600 odd thousand kilometers. I've got my units mixed up between the Earth and the moon. So the fact is that they appear almost exactly the same size in the night sky most of the time is quite an incredible coincidence. And so what that means is every time the moon does pass in front of the sun, it completely covers it or occludes it, and that's what we call an eclipse. But it doesn't do that every month, and the reason why it doesn't do it every month is because of the fact that the moon is at a slight angle compared to the sun. Yeah, that's fine. I've unmuted myself. So long story. Passing in front of the sun. So I'm back. I was just testing my audio. We're back on again. So long story short is this: the fact that you've got the moon's sort of orbit is at a slight angle. I'm exaggerating here. Perhaps if I use this pen, you can see better what I mean. So if this is the plane between the Earth and the Sun, the moon kind of goes at a slight angle, and so that means it will go above and below the line that joins the Earth and the Sun most of the time. But occasionally it doesn't. When it doesn't, you get this fantastic event that happens, which we call an eclipse, either a lunar eclipse if the Earth goes in front of the Sun, or a solar eclipse if the moon goes in front of the Earth. Now, the interesting thing about the difference between the two is the fact that the Earth is much bigger than the moon means when we pass in front of the moon, a lot of places actually see that lunar eclipse because the Earth's shadow is just huge. The opposite is true when we get a solar eclipse. When we get a solar eclipse, what happens then is that the moon projects a very small shadow on a tiny little spot across the surface of the Earth, typically anywhere between about 50 and 200 miles, and that shadow passes very quickly across the surface of the Earth. It goes at rapid speed, and as a result of that, a solar eclipse in its totality only lasts for a very short period of time, and so it's a very exciting event. I haven't yet been to a live solar eclipse. I saw a 98% coverage one in Bristol in 1998, and there's going to be a 96% coverage one in 2026. And as I keep saying, and I haven't done yet, timeanddate.com has got some fantastic sort of calendar events of solar and lunar eclipses, so I will paste that in the live chat. Yes, thanks, Wizza. I muted myself for about 3 minutes, which is really hilarious, isn't it? So I haven't got a huge amount more to say other than the fact this is a really special event. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it's well worth a look. So thanks very much for tuning in, you guys, and do share this video if you know anybody else who's interested in astronomy, and because it is quite a rare event. And it is something worth watching and making a note of. So I'm going to go off camera now and let you enjoy, and I'll put the time and date website up on the live chat and on the background so you can see. Good morning. It is 10:34 a.m. as I record this live stream. I say record, it's actually live streaming on the internet, and we're seeing a nice big chunk out of the sun's surface right now. As I've said previously, a solar eclipse is one of those events which happens very slowly, which I quite like actually. It's nice when events happen slowly. And then right at the end, if you get a total solar eclipse, then literally it's like someone's switched off the light and everything goes really, really dark. And you can really understand why people find these deeply spiritual experiences, because it is there's something very deeply, what's the right word to use? There's something very deeply significant about the fact that the sun, which is so far away, gets completely covered by the moon. Now, most of the time that's true. Sometimes the moon, because it varies in its distance very slightly, it's not quite a circle, it's actually a very slightly squash circle or an ellipse. Sometimes when you get a total eclipse, the moon is actually slightly nearer to the earth, so the size of the shadow that it casts on the surface of the earth or the moon appears slightly bigger than the sun, and other times it's slightly further away in its ecliptic orbit around the sun. And when that happens, you get what's called an annular eclipse, where you have a slight ring all the way around where the sun is just kind of peeking through behind the moon. More often than not, you do get a solar eclipse though, which is really, really cool. The nearest I got to this was back in August of 1998, and I actually recorded it on an old camcorder. I've got the recording somewhere. And we had a 96% partial solar eclipse. On the link that I've just put in the live stream, in the live chat, we've now got a link to timeanddate.com, and it gives you some information about the eclipses that are happening in the Bristol area. Obviously, if you're in a different location, which you probably are watching this live stream, then do go and pop in your city or town or location, and then you can see what's going to be happening in the daytime sky or the nighttime sky if it's a lunar eclipse. So the last lunar eclipse we had actually here in Bristol was 2 weeks ago. And if you tuned in earlier, you might remember the fact that I said that lunar eclipses and solar eclipses often happen very, very close together, simply because of the fact that during that 2-week period, the moon won't have kind of drifted too far away from the ecliptic. If you remember previously, I said that the moon is, I think it's about an 11 or 11.5 degree angle to the line between the Earth and the Sun. So right now, if you imagine you're looking at this live video stream of the sun, if you joined a line between your eyes and the sun, that is the line of sight between us, called the ecliptic, and most of the planets go round on that line. Some of them go a bit above and below, particularly some of the outer planets of the solar system, and the moon, you would think that it would also go on that line as well, and because of the fact that the gravitational tidal effect would mean that it would eventually kind of iterate towards that ecliptic line, which tended to happen for most of the other planets in the solar system. For example, if you look at the Galilean moons, which are the 4 largest moons that we can see through a small telescope named after Galileo, obviously, because he discovered them first, they all go in a line, a horizontal line around Jupiter. They don't always appear horizontal from our point of view, because it depends on where Jupiter is in its arc around the sun. Arc around the sky, is it between sunset and between when it rises and when it sets. The long story short is that most moons of most planets are on the planet's sort of center line, so they go around the center line, or the equator is what I'm trying to say, of that particular planet. And likewise, most planets go around the equator of the sun, so we go around what's called the ecliptic, or the equator of the sun. But interestingly, the moon doesn't do that. It's slightly out of sync, and one of the theories behind that is that a very, very long time ago, probably a few billion years ago, the moon actually was a small planet, perhaps slightly smaller than Mars, and Earth was much bigger than it is now, and the two did a bit of a dance and collided. And now that huge collision, what resulted is the current size of the Earth, which is smaller, and the smaller planet, which is now what we call the moon, because the moon is significantly larger compared to the size of its mothership, as it were, the Earth, than most other satellites in the solar system. So the moon is really a very significant one-off, as far as we know anyway. We've got data points for a few thousand planetary systems around the galaxy and around all around our galaxy at the moment, and quite often planets are just huge, like huge Jupiter gas giants, the ones that we can detect even with the James Webb Telescope and beyond. and most moons are so tiny we haven't spotted any directly, but we can see the kind of planets wobbling slightly, and we can see the star wobbling as the planets go around the star, because the gravitational effect of all of the planets going around our system does wobble the sun's orbit very, very slightly, or its position. It kind of just jiggles it very slightly. And also the the Earth-Moon connection, we revolve around our common centre of gravity, which is actually inside the Earth. So the Earth kind of wobbles around like a spinning top around the sun in its orbit, kind of doing these lovely spiral patterns, and the moon and the Earth are kind of going around like an unequally shaped dumbbell. But that centre of gravity is actually inside the Earth. So the Earth doesn't go around in a nice ellipse. It actually goes around in a kind of a slightly drunk ellipse with little spirals all the way around it. And so what happens is every so often the Earth and the sun in our ecliptic line, they get interrupted by the moon, but not every time, because of the fact that the moon is at 11 degrees and everything has to kind of be in synchronization. It's kind of like a nice pirouette between three objects, and occasionally they line up, and when they do, you get these wonderful phenomena, natural phenomena, and eclipses are the most spectacular thing you can see. And if you're in northern Spain in August of 2026, if you go onto that time and date website link that I've put in there, you will see that there is actually a total eclipse in northern Spain. It's not a very long one, just because of the way things work out, but it is worth thinking about if you are going to be in that part of the world in 2026, assuming we're all here and we're all sensible. So we are now getting close to the total maximum of this particular partial eclipse. It will happen roughly at 11 a.m. and then the moon will kind of disappear around the other side. But there we go. So this is a partial solar eclipse of the sun here from Bristol on the 29th of March 2025. If you've got any questions in chat about eclipses or astronomy, about anything else, do please say hi, and let me know where you're from. I've definitely recognised some of you. I don't know all of you, but thanks very much for coming. And yeah, if you've got any questions about astronomy, I've been doing astronomy since I was about 13 years of age, which is a long time now, as you can see from the grey hairs. I got interested in it with my dad. We used to watch the sky at night together around midnight. It was live broadcast and then repeated. We always watched the live broadcast. And I kind of got the astronomy bug via Patrick Moore, really. And as a result of that, when I was later on in my teens, my dad and I went to the golf course one day and we picked up some golf balls, which became the ball bearings of an observatory. So that was a long time ago, but I've been interested in astronomy ever since, and this is the first time I've live streamed a solar eclipse. So enjoy. I'm going to go off camera now and let you watch in silence. But if you've got any questions, do please ask. Good morning. If you are just tuning in, this is the live view from the Seastar S50 Astro camera, which is currently in my back garden here in Bristol. This is a live streamed image or video of what's actually happening right now. The moon is passing in front of the sun on a very rare event. Actually, it doesn't happen that often, maybe just a few times a year in a few places around the earth. So it's a privilege to actually be able to see this event, and if I was outside I wouldn't be able to see it because I don't have any. Actually, I do have some of these glasses, but it's much more fun to actually look at the whole thing from the comfort of my home. I'm an armchair astronomer, I make no apologies for that. So I got the Seastar S50 camera in July of 2024, and it's been a lot of fun. I've done astrophotography since I was about well, I tried it when I was 17 with a kind of just a webcam, and actually, did we have webcams then? I think we just about did back in the 1980s. They weren't really a thing because there wasn't really the internet then, but we did have cameras and that kind of stuff, but it was a very, very expensive thing to try and do. And then when I was a teacher, I used to teach at Clifton College for many years, and I persuaded them to spend lots of money and put a telescope on the roof and take pictures of the night sky. Now that setup was probably about 50 times more expensive when you add it all up in terms of people hours to put it on the roof and everything, compared to the double-sized cornflakes packet astro camera, which is the Seastar S50. The Seastar S50 is a really interesting device because it's totally remote. So at the moment, this is actually the live stream view from the camera, which is connected to my Wi-Fi network, and that's in the back garden. At the moment, it's pointing at the daytime sky with a solar filter in front. Otherwise, the camera would be toast by now. The CCD camera that the Seastar has is way more sensitive than the human eye, and the lens in front is bigger than the iris that we've got in our eye. So actually, the resolution is way better than the human eye, which makes it incredibly sensitive. And if you let direct sunlight pass onto that, it would probably catch fire. So you remember doing magnifying glasses when you were a kid, and so in order to stop that from happening, we put a solar filter made of something called mylar, which is the thin aluminium multi-layered material which lets through some visible light, and depending on what you use, you get a different color. So we've got a kind of an orangey yellow color here, and other filters give more what I call a daylight sort of color. But it doesn't matter, it's just a fun thing to actually watch. The reason why this is kind of drifting around very, very slightly is because I've set the camera to center the target, and so because of the fact that the atmosphere is wobbling due to the heat rising, or the thermal air currents rising, should I say, then that actually distorts the image very slightly, and so the camera's actually trying to kind of track that and keep it in the center of the field of view. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to turn down the brightness very, very slightly to see if we can see a little bit more in the way of detail on the surface of the sun. I'm not sure I can do that live, but let's see if that works. There might be a little bit of a delay. Let me just turn that down a little bit more. So I click on adjust, and there we go. So what I've done is I've just turned down the gain on the camera slightly, with a view to potentially seeing a little bit more detail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in, put it on ×2 for a second, so you'll see the image reappear. And I'm not sure we can really see that particularly well at the moment. Actually, the live stream's just gone, hasn't it? So I'll go back to 1 oh, there we go, it is there, but it's not so much fun to watch, so I'll put it back on ×1. What I was looking to see if we could do is actually zoom in a bit on the where the shadow is, where the moon is, because what's fun about that is that sometimes you can actually see little kind of like irregularities that are not atmospheric distortions, but they're actually rocky outcrops on the surface of the moon. I've got a kind of a hunch that I'm sort of seeing that right now. I'm not entirely convinced, because it could just be atmospheric wobbling that's causing that. But you can get some really amazing effects when the moon passes completely in front of the sun and you get a total eclipse, because what happens then is that sometimes you get little tiny slivers of sunlight peeking through the mountaintops, and you get what's called the diamond ring effect as the moon passes in front of the sun. And it happens just before totality and just after, and sometimes during. You get these tiny little kind of like almost sparks of light around the moon, and it's just such an amazing experience if you can actually see it in real person. I never have. I've only seen it on a live stream like this, but that was pretty cool. So we're actually pretty much near the totality of what's going to be this partial eclipse of 2025. At just around 11 a.m. I believe that's when we hit the maximum of this event. Let me just have a look on the link. So if you are on the live chat, you'll see there is a link. So at 11 a.m. and 59 seconds we have the maximum, which I think is around 26% from memory. If I just go onto the detailed view of that link that I've put in the live chat. So it says here temperature changes around now, so we should see a small amount of temperature drop. I might actually go outside and have a quick look and see if I can detect any difference. Look, the daytime skies behind me, I can't really see much of a difference. We've had quite a bit of cloud in front of us today as well, which does mean that as a consequence it's probably a little bit cooler than it would be. So the clouds just passing in front will cool things down as well, so we may not pick up anything. I'm just going to brighten up the image slightly on the live stream view. I'll put it back down to roughly where it was before, and so you can definitely see some irregularities on the kind of the black area, which is the occlusion of the moon in front of the sun. But some of that could just be pixelation due to the live stream, some of that could be atmospheric wobble due to thermal air currents, and some of it could be real, and it's not easy to tell from this view. But anyway, enjoy, and if you've got any questions, do please ask me in the live chat. I'm going to go off camera now, actually have a look outside and just see for myself what's going on, see if I can spot anything in terms of, you know, the daytime sky or anything that looks a bit unusual, and come back shortly. Good morning. If you're just tuning in, it's 7 minutes past 11 as I make this video and straighten my hair. I've been in the back garden for the last 5 minutes, and yes, Neil, it is happening right now. This is the view from my camera here in Bristol. It's called the C-Star S50. I'm just going to center it so you can see it better. And this is a live stream from my back garden to the internet, to the Tinternet, of the 29th of March solar eclipse 2025. I've actually been in the back garden. I'm going to see if I can find a way to share the pictures I've just taken with a piece of cardboard with a tiny pinprick hole in it. It was about the size, about 3 or 4 millimeters across. And I managed to get this kind of projected onto my back door, which was a nice white colour. So I'll just go off camera for a second and see if I can find it for you. So you can actually do this yourself if you want to, because that's another fun thing you can do. Just make effectively a pinhole camera, but a cornflakes box with a tiny hole in it projected onto a white screen. In my case, I've got a white plastic door. I was able to get this. Obviously, it's not as good as what you can see right now. But anyway, let me get off camera for a second and find that picture for you. Just bear with me. So what you should just see above my head, I don't know which way that appears, that way, no, that way, is a photograph I've just taken in my back garden. In fact, that's my back door, and I've just kind of done a close-up shot of it. And what you should hopefully be able to see, if I just am happy to leave it where it is like a, I suppose what you call it is a pinhole camera view of the sun projected onto my back door. My back door's white UPVC, which is fantastic for this sort of thing, and you can see the chunk taken out of the sun. Now you notice it's the other way around, because a pinhole camera is very much the same as the eye. It projects the image upside down, and whereas the C-Star S50 camera that you're seeing on the live stream to your left on this live stream is a video view, and it's the right way up. So the sun is currently being obscured by the moon, which is passing slightly above it. And this is a very fun event. It doesn't happen that often, which is why people like myself are keen to let people know about it and get in on the excitement. So every 2 or 3 times a year, there is somewhere on the earth there is some partial or very occasionally complete obscuration of the sun by the moon, and we call that a solar eclipse. And usually 2 weeks beforehand there is the opposite, so we get a lunar eclipse where the earth passes in front of the shadow, or causes a shadow to fall on the surface of the moon, because we get in the way of the sun. Now the reason why this doesn't happen every time is because of the fact that the moon does not lie in this direct line of sight between us and the sun. So if you imagine you're looking at the screen right now and you're looking at the sun, that line there is called the ecliptic, and most of the planets of the solar system go around in that ecliptic, and most of the moons of those planets also go around the ecliptic. What makes the Earth a bit interesting is the fact that the moon itself is on an 11 degree, roughly, I think it's 11.5 degrees line, slightly above or slightly below that line of sight. So that means we don't get a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse every month. It would be great if we did, but we'd probably consider them a bit of a nuisance rather than an amazing experience, because it happens so rarely that we get the moon completely obscuring the sun that we kind of get really excited about it. And I think we should get excited, and the reason why we should is because it's an amazing coincidence, or a miracle that God chooses to remain anonymous by, one of many thousands in my view, that the moon as viewed from the Earth is almost exactly the same size as the sun, even though the sun is around 400 times further away. So the shadow, or the kind of the size of the moon, appears to be almost exactly the same, about half a degree. And if you stick your thumb out at arm's length, not harm's length, if you stick your thumb out at arm's length, then the size of your thumbnail is roughly that size, around half a degree. You can do some other fun things as well, like if you take your hand span between the thumb and the little finger, that I think is about 15 degrees, and that's about the distance that the objects around the sky tend to move in an hour. So if you want to know where something is going to be in an hour, if the moon's sort of over there somewhere, and then in an hour's time it's going to be over there somewhere, it's moved roughly that distance. Obviously we've got slightly different hand sizes, but that distance is about 15 degrees. And then there are a few others as well, I can't remember what they are. Maybe there's another one which is around 5 degrees, but anyway, it's just a fun thing, rule of thumb you can do. So at the moment, we're tracking this object live with the Seastar S50 camera just above my head by my webcam view. I just popped outside for a couple of minutes and I took a picture with a piece of cardboard, and that cardboard actually has got a tiny hole in it, and that projected an image of the sun onto the door frame of my back door, and you can see that there's a bit eaten out of it. The reason why it's the opposite orientation to what you're viewing on the live stream is simply because the pinhole camera view projects the light upside down, just like the light hitting the back of your retina, and then the brain works out which way is up and which way is down and orientates things the right way up, in inverted commas. So enjoy this. This is the last 45 minutes of this live stream. Will be ending roughly around just gone 12 o'clock, when the moon has finished its transit across the surface of the sun. I say that tongue-in-cheek because obviously the moon is a lot nearer to us than the sun is, but from our perspective, the moon is passing in front of the sun, causing this beautiful event called a partial solar eclipse. Now, in the live chat, you should be able to see a few comments above, timeanddate.com, and if you click on that, then you'll get to a page which actually has some information on there about when eclipses are. So do have a look at that, because that is pretty cool. I'm not going to sort of display this full screen, but you can see in the background here I've got that page open at the moment, and it gives you dates of when all those eclipses are. So there's one happening right now here in Bristol and in various parts in the world, which you can see, which is a lot of fun. So if you have got a piece of card and you want to have a go projecting the image of the sun onto a background, then by all means do have a go, because that's a bit of a fun thing. I don't think there's anything wrong being low tech. You don't always have to be high tech, but that's the picture that I got of the sun just a few minutes ago, which you can see just above my head on this view. I might take a few more pictures. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing at the moment. I'm just kind of enjoying the view, so I'll go off camera now and let you watch in peace. But if you've got any questions, do leave a comment in the live chat. There is around a 30-second delay between what comes up on the live stream and what you type, so if there's a bit of a delay, I will reply, and it won't be too long after it appears. Okay, I will probably come on here a couple more times before the end, but I hope you've been enjoying this. This is the partial solar eclipse from Bristol on the 29th of March 2025, and enjoy. Good morning if you're just tuning in, or if you're watching on the replay. Most people watch replays of live streams these days. I don't blame them, because we've all got plenty of things to do with our lives, haven't we, rather than just watching pictures of the daytime sky. But this is quite an interesting event. This is actually live, happening right now in Bristol. It is about 20 past 11 on the 29th of March, Saturday the 29th of March 2025. And the moon has been gradually passing its way in front of the sun. It started doing this just around 10 a.m. and reached its maximum obscuration of the surface of the sun at 11 a.m. So it's kind of on its way out now, slowly but surely. You will have seen some clouds passing in front there, because that does happen occasionally in Bristol, doesn't it? And what I'm going to do is I popped outside for a couple of minutes, and I decided to see if I could take some pictures, which I've done, and a couple of other people who have as well, which is really cool. So what I shall do shortly is I'm going to show you some sort of little bits and pieces from a video that I took, and it's going to be online very, very shortly. So as soon as it is, what I'll do is I'll just display it in the back part of this live stream. In fact, I'll just move my live stream of the sun to the left slightly, and then probably just move myself down here, maybe like that. And then what you'll be able to see sort of behind us in that little gap above my head is a video showing you how you can see this live, not with the naked eye, but with a piece of card and a small pin prick in the middle of it. In fact, it needs to be a reasonably large size pin prick. I reckon about 2 or 3 millimeters across gets you the best kind of compromise between sharpness of image and bright enough to actually see. So let me see if that video is now online. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post it. If I can just scroll down to the bottom here, let's see what we get. You probably won't get any audio. Well, I'm going to put a still frame, and let me just put that back on. So see if I can find it for you. Let me just move myself out of the way a little bit. So I'm grappling with technology here. Let's move me just to here. Don't need that. So what you can see in the background is a still from the video, and I'm actually holding a piece of cardboard. And in that card there are actually a few holes, and there's one hole, which is that hole there, and that hole is about the right size. In fact, I think I used a pen and just poked the hole and made it a little bit bigger. So I'll just kind of play a little bit of the video, if I can grab hold of it, and you'll see how this works in practice. I don't think you'll get any audio on it though, because I've turned the audio off, but what you can see, there's a sun there, and with that hole, I'm just trying to get things lined up so that you can actually project this image of the sun like a pinhole effect on the back door of my house. And I don't know if you should hopefully be able to see it. I did actually take a still photograph of it earlier on, because I wanted to be able to make sure that people could see what was going on. And you can just about see it there below the doorknob. There is the projected image of the sun, and this was taken I think at around 11 a.m. But I've only just put it online just now, giving you an explanation of how to do this. So if you ever kind of get sort of like, oh, I haven't got my solar glasses on me and I didn't know there was going to be a solar eclipse, just grab even a piece of paper, but card is obviously thicker so you get better contrast, and grab a piece of paper, put a small hole in it, probably about 2 or 3 millimeters across. If you can make the hole circular, you do get better results. And so you can actually see there, this was around 11 o'clock. The reason why it's upside down is because the light kind of crosses over, just like it does on the back of your eye, and you get that nice little effect. Now, some people use a kitchen colander, a metal aluminium kitchen colander, and you get multiple ones. I should have done that, shouldn't I? But don't know where mine is. But there you are. So that's one thing you can definitely do at any time during a partial or a total eclipse, is get a piece of card and poke a small hole in it, and then you get this lovely effect. It's a bit like looking at a crescent moon, isn't it? But this is actually a crescent sun as a result of the moon passing in front of it. So I just thought it'd be worth showing you that. It's something you can try out at home. Don't look at the sun directly, or for obvious reasons. Do not look at the sun through a telescope unless you have a Mylar filter in front of it. That is a telescope grade Mylar filter, because if you don't do that, you will go blind like Galileo did. He looked at the sun too much. So there you go. Hope that's of interest to you. I'm going to go off screen now, but if you've got any questions, do please put something in the live chat and on YouTube, and I will attempt to answer. I've been doing astronomy since I was, well, about 11 or 12 really, when my dad and I used to watch Sky at Night magazine together. Sky at Night magazine, Sky at Night actually on TV live on a Friday, I think, or Saturday night. It's only about 25 minutes long, with the mad Patrick Moore, who had even more wavy hair than me. And as a result of reading one of his books on how to build an observatory, when my dad was unemployed for a time, unemployed carpenter, when I was in my teens, he and I went to the golf course one day with permission and got 300 golf balls, which then became the ball bearings for our observatory. And I will show you a picture of that at the end if I get a chance. So anyway, enjoy. Ask any questions. I've been doing astronomy for a little while, so I'm quite keen on answering if you've got any questions. Okay, I'll go off camera for now. Hello, welcome. If you're tuning in on the replay, do by all means leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching this on the replay, and say where you watched in, and if you've got any photographs. I don't think you can put them in the chat, but you can definitely put some links to anything you photographed in the chat, either the live chat or the comments in YouTube. this is more typical of the sort of Bristol weather we get, where clouds are going in front of the sun. We've actually had a largely uninterrupted view of the sun for the last 2 hours, since 10 a.m. when the moon first started appearing in front of the disk of the orangey colour that you can see in front of you. It's not actually orange, it's just the solar filter I'm using does block out quite a few of the colours and leaving behind this kind of lovely orangey yellow colour, which we normally associate with the sun. But the sun is almost entirely white, as viewed with a naked eye at least. Now that the black sort of smudge to the left of the sun is not something on the camera lens of the CSAR S50 camera, it's actually a sunspot, and that particular sunspot is probably several times larger than the Earth, which is quite astonishing, isn't it? Now the reason why the moon is taking such a big chunk out of the sun right now is because it is passing on the line of sight between us and the sun. That line of sight is called the ecliptic, and the moon is actually it orbits around the Earth at a slight angle to that, around 11 degrees. And in fact, it's not even accurate to say that the sun, the moon goes around the Earth. The moon and the Earth go around each other in the common centre of gravity, like a bit like a dumbbell, but with one weight much bigger than the other. So the actual common point of centre of gravity is inside the Earth. So that means that the Earth kind of wobbles its way around the sun like a spinning top, sort of wobbling slightly. All lots of cloud passing in front of the sun now. So we're in the last stages, with the last half an hour or so of this partial solar eclipse, and on the whole we've had very, very good weather here in Bristol. You do often get clouds, low cloud appearing like this at the time of solar eclipses, and the reason why that happens is because the temperature suddenly drops, and that means you get cooler temperatures all of a sudden, and that can result in condensation, which means low cloud or sometimes very high cloud, either one of the two. So here we are at 11:33 a.m. and for the first time in this partial solar eclipse live stream of the 29th of March 2025 Bristol solar eclipse, while it's happening all over the world, we've actually got enough cloud to block out the light from the sun, and we've had largely uninterrupted view. Now, when I looked on timeanddate.com, which is the website link I put earlier on, it said for the most part there's a 77% chance of cloud cover at this time of day, at this particular time of year. And interestingly, the next solar eclipse that's going to be happening, which is on the, I believe it's the it's the 18th of August. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just take the C star off the view for a second, if I can find out where it is. So if I just remove that for a second and show you my desktop, which is going to be behind me somewhere. In fact, let me just get that off for a second. Oh yeah, sun's back, so I'm going to put the sun back. There we go. So the sun is back. Well, the sun wasn't always there, it's just hidden by clouds. So we have these eclipses every so often, not that often, but if I just go onto the website for a minute, and in fact I'll put that in the background so you can see what I'm seeing, or a little bit of what I'm seeing anyway. What I'll do is I will tell you the details of the next solar eclipse, which will be happening visible from Bristol. There are going to be a few in between. So let me just go to partial solar eclipse. Just bear with me a second, I'll just go off camera whilst I find it. Hi, my name is Des Futek. I'm the person who's doing this live stream. This is actually a live stream of the partial solar eclipse in Bristol on the 29th of March 2025 from Bristol, live streaming using the C-Star S50 Astro camera, which is a cornflake sized box that tracks the night sky or the daytime sky if you happen to be looking at the sun with a solar filter in front so it doesn't burn the camera. What you can see here right now is a live view of the moon obscuring some of the sun. It's in the closing stages of this partial solar eclipse, and behind us there is actually a lovely picture taken by someone in my Astronomy Near Me WhatsApp group. In fact, you are very warmly welcome to come and join that group. I'll put a link to it in the live stream at the end, and I'll put that in the comments below this YouTube video, which I will leave online. So what you can actually see is someone's actually taken a picture through a mylar filter. So they've got one of these solar glasses, and they've held that in front of the camera and taken this picture. So you can definitely see there the fact that there's a chunk out of the sun. Although that's a bit of a zoomed in view, obviously, but that's really cool. So what I'll do, if you're interested, I've got a website called Astronomy Near Me, which at some point I'm going to put some resources on as time permits. So I will put that, in fact, what I'll do is I'll put something in the YouTube comments where you can become part of the WhatsApp group if you're interested. Most of what I do is local to Bristol, but I do post things that are going on, including obviously solar eclipses and lunar eclipses and whatnot. So if you're really interested in astronomy and you love getting notifications on WhatsApp at 11 o'clock at night, then by all means join the group. I will say that I do put all groups that I'm part of on WhatsApp on mute, including my own, so don't worry, I don't feel offended if you do that. So I'll put a link to that towards the end of this live stream if you're interested in joining that WhatsApp group. So what you can see right now is the moon has more or less finished its journey across the surface of the sun, not literally but metaphorically, as it is much closer to us than the sun is. The sun is roughly 91.5 million miles, give or take a couple of million, because it's we're going around in a very slight ellipse, and likewise the moon varies in its distance between us and itself, and as a result, most of the time when a total eclipse happens, the sun's surface is completely obscured and it becomes nighttime. Now in 1998 there was a 98% solar eclipse around Bristol, and you'll see here on the 12th of August 2026 we've got another one in the evening. So unfortunately the chances are that it's going to be cloudy, but it's always worth making a note of that date. And if you so fancy and you want to travel to northern Spain, you'll see it as a total eclipse, which would be really cool. So the next solar eclipse visible in the UK is 12th of August 2026, which isn't that far away, is it really? Let me just move that out of the way so you can see that. So it's worth making a note in your diary. If you happen to be in the UK, then do have a look at that. And today's one has been a lot of fun. It's the first time I've live streamed a solar eclipse. In fact, it's a long time since I've done any live streaming, but this has been a lot of fun. So if you are interested in astronomy and you want to keep up to date with what's going on, then do join my Astronomy Near Me WhatsApp group. I'll put that in the live chat shortly, actually. So let me just get off camera and do that now. Hi, welcome. If you've just joined this live stream, thank you very much for tuning in. You're in the closing stages of the 2025 solar eclipse. This is actually a live stream view from my astro camera. It's called the C-Star S50, and the C-Star S50 has got a solar filter in front of it to stop the whole camera getting fried by the amazing power of the sun. About 10 o'clock the moon started doing this, but from the opposite side, but at the top end it sort of kind of dipped across the surface, not the surface, but it's occluded part of the sun at the top part of the sun, so it looks like it's eaten bit of the sun. It's quite fun, but now it's disappearing, so it's in its final few minutes. It will be back to normal in the next 6 minutes or so. We will then see the sun in all its splendorous glory. What you can see on the left hand side of the image is a blob. That blob is actually a sunspot, which is probably several times bigger than the Earth, and at the moment it's the only biggest sunspot you can see. We've had a little bit of cloud cover over the last 20 minutes or so. That's quite commonly happens when eclipses occur, and the reason for that is that the temperature drops suddenly, and as a result the condensation forms, and that's what you get in terms of cloud cover. So but on the whole, we've had really good solar eclipse this year. 77% chance according to Time and Date that it's going to be completely cloudy, so we've done really well. It's been against the odds, not we, but the weather's been clear, so we've been able to watch the solar eclipse. If you are interested in keeping up to date with what's going on in the night sky, I've got a WhatsApp group called Astronomy Near Me, and I've put that in the live stream chat. I will put that in one of the comments below this video once the live stream is over and YouTube has posted this video online. It will render it so the video will disappear for a short while and then it will appear back again. So thanks very much if you've tuned in at any point today, or you're watching on the live, or you're watching on the replay. If you would like to let me know where you are, if you've seen the eclipse, if you've got any videos that you want to post or links to photographs that you've taken, then do by all means either put them in the live chat, or if you're watching on the replay, then put them in the comments below. So solar eclipses don't happen all the time because the moon and the Earth and the sun are not always lined up. The moon is actually a bit of an angle, about 11 degrees outside of this plane between the Earth and the sun, and as a result of that we don't get eclipses every month. So when they happen, they are very, very special, and so it's been great to see this one from start to finish, and with a little bit of cloud giving us a break in between. So if you're interested in finding out more, then do please click on the links below this video. There's astronomynear.me. Astronomy Near Me is like a resources page. It's actually a Notion page where I put bits and pieces from time to time. I'll put a link to this video on there once it's all up and running on YouTube. I've been interested in astronomy for a very, very long time, and doing something like this 20 years ago would have been, well, nigh on impossible. Possible, but very, very tricky, and also incredibly expensive. Whereas now with just a normal domestic internet connection and a camera which costs less than most mid-range smartphones, you can do this, which is really cool. So I'll also put a link to where you can buy this camera. I bought mine from an astronomy shop called Rother Valley Optics, which is up in the north of the country. Super friendly people. There are other places where you can buy it as well, and it's probably the easiest thing I've ever done in terms of astronomy. It takes away all the technical challenge and the pain, and you can get some amazing images of the night sky, which I'll also post below. So thanks very much if you've been watching today. We're just in the closing few seconds now of this eclipse of 2025. You can see the moon's gradually disappearing, and we're going back to a normal shaped sun for the first time in 2 hours. So this started happening around 10 o'clock this morning and finishes roughly midday, which is in a couple of minutes time. So if you've got any questions about astronomy, or you're interested in getting involved, then do join the WhatsApp group, which I will post below this YouTube video once it's up on the internet. Because I've been doing this for a little while, so I'm quite keen on sharing my knowledge and enthusiasm about the subject. There's a wonderful verse in the Bible that says that heavens declare the glory of God. which I really feel has always been something that's been close to my heart and mind, that actually God has placed his fingerprints all over creation, not least of which we get the fact that the moon appears almost exactly the same size as the sun when you get a solar eclipse, which is actually a very, very rare event. So I will post some links if you're interested in that kind of thing below, and thanks very much for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, please do share this video, and if you've got any photographs, do share them on social media as well. I haven't got any socials for the Astronomy Near Me group. It's more just kind of a personal fun project at the moment. But thank you very much for tuning in if you have, and enjoy the last few seconds of this eclipse of 2025. I will sign off now and say goodbye and God bless.